Sorry about that. So having a little technical difficulty here. Been a minute. Apparently, my computer did some funny things on me. So thanks for joining me. You may have been on another broadcast that lasted for about a minute, and then I had to kill it because my YouTube people were going, "Hey, what happened? What's going on?" So I got everything back up and running again. So I think we're good on all platforms, including Rumble at this point in time. Good evening out there, you guys in Rumble land, YouTube land, Twitter land, and also Facebook land, of course. So thanks for joining me. Meteorologist in Tuttle, back with you again. It's been a minute, right? It was a little quiet around here, because the weather kind of just all of a sudden disappeared after we had that day of unfortunate tornadic activity. It was one of those deals where, I didn't really want to not be here, but unfortunately, I had a work commitment. So I'll show you what that looked like. And then we'll get on with the forecast. So my day job actually pays the bills. I work for the Federal Aviation Administration on the terminal top of the weather radar. I'm part of the second level engineering and hardware support team. So we have to do a lot of modifications and upgrades and etc. So this particular one I had to work on was planned well in advance of the storms for that last Wednesday to fix this radar. And this is down in San Juan, Puerto Rico. So if you wondered why I wasn't able to broadcast live, that is the reason, because I was on a plane during that. And before I got on the plane, I broadcasted live from Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. That was fun. So many folks complained about the loud noise, but I get it. That's because there were a lot of loud passengers right around my vicinity. But I made it happen. I made it work. So at least you guys got the forecast what was going to happen. This is my little buddy down there, though, in San Juan, Puerto Rico. These guys, these iguanas are huge, man. Don't think this is a cute little picture of a little bitty dude that's an inch long. No, man. These things are like 4 feet. They'll eat you. But they're actually very scared of you. But there's a ton of them out there on the island that I'm on. This was a nice view out over the edge. You don't want to get too close. You'll fall off the cliff. But I love the scenery down there in San Juan, Puerto Rico. So that's where I was the day that we had all those unfortunate storms. I wish I could have been here. Trust me, it was eating at me like you have no idea. I was not happy. Out there currently, we've got 81 degrees. Jody and I like to sit out on the porch on the backyard. We have an east-facing backyard, so we don't have the sun setting, so it gets cooler in the shade, right? And we got that nice breeze. And I'm telling you, it felt really nice out there this evening. So I told her, I said, this is the kind of weather I really like when you get to cool down pretty quickly after a warm day. And we did have a warm day today. We hit the 90s out there across most of Oklahoma. Almost hit 100 in the Panhandle and in southwestern parts of the state. So quite toasty for the fourth day in a row. Now out there currently, we're cooling back down. We've got the 70s quickly sneaking in there, some 80s still hanging on, especially down south and west. But the evening out there right now is pretty nice if you want to get out there and enjoy it. And the wind is just enough of a breeze to make it feel nice. The wind machine, though, will not stop, as you can tell. Eastern Oklahoma, though, not bad. You guys don't have much of a wind with this deal, but central and western Oklahoma obviously do. Now, we've had some decent rain last couple of days out here in western Oklahoma, and boy, was that needed. I know sometimes that comes with some severe weather when you're dealing with a little bit of hail, maybe some wind, but the drought has just been going nuts out there in western Oklahoma, so any raindrops we can get out there is going to be beneficial. Now, we do have a storm system that is working its way here. There's actually a couple things going on. So there is actually an upper level low out in this area, and then we've got a little low here that's coming through, and we've got one up here that's going through. And so all these little areas help to create instability lift in the atmosphere. So look at the water vapor channel. And would you focus right here? See what's going on right here? Back kind of building it down into Oklahoma, even this little spot here in southeastern Texas Panhandle. This is a sign of a few more showers and storms that are starting to bubble up out there this evening. As a matter of fact, let's take a look at the radar here. We do have a thunderstorm that's already developed. There's actually two. So here's that little spot down here south of Shamrock, just now getting going. You even actually have a little wave of some light showers here south into central Oklahoma coming into the north, but that's nothing compared to these guys up here. Severe thunderstorm warning in effect around the Fort Supply area up toward Buffalo and Harper County. For this particular group of thunderstorms, a lot of lightning within that. Hail sizes are about 1 inch in diameter on the algorithm, so just kind of a borderline severe storm. out in that area of the state, and that will move northeast into Wichita. So we'll probably see a couple more storms out here in western Oklahoma this evening before all is said and done. All right, so let's go back to the big picture here. We do have a severe weather risk for weather on Friday. So this is be Friday afternoon, evening across mainly northeast Oklahoma. Now, I'll tell you what we could do. Let's have a little fun with some colors, right? I think what we really could do, looking at the latest data, I'm going to go ahead and do something like this for a slight risk of severe weather in this region, because I think X marks the spot where we're going to have some pretty good thunderstorms develop here on the southeast side of the central Oklahoma region. So right now the model is keeping it out of the metro for the most part. We're going to have a little bit around here, but mostly just south and east of us. So we'll see how that looks like in the forecast here in just a minute, as we do wrap up things rather quickly on these new versions I'm giving you. Severe storms also there for Friday for the eastern, northeastern Oklahoma, but again, draw the little circle back down toward McAllister. I think the Weather Service will update this based off the new data coming tonight. And then as far as Saturday is concerned, we'll repeat up here across the northern, probably half of the state. Again, in all these cases, the threat's mainly there for large hail and damaging winds. Now, temperatures tomorrow, just about like today, upper 80s northeast Oklahoma, right around 90 here in central, and probably mid to slightly upper 90s out in southwest Oklahoma on Friday. On Saturday, same kind of idea, but a little bit cooler. So we'll have more widespread upper 80s in there, still some 90s down southwest. And then on Sunday, still a nice day, mid to upper 80s northeast, and then mid 90s southwest with some hundreds sneaking in rather than the Wichita Falls area. So here's a look at how your progression for tonight ought to go. Now, the models are oblivious to the storms out in western Oklahoma, unfortunately. So we're going to pretend that they know what's happening, and that is going to be, in this particular time frame, I'm looking at, what about 1 o'clock in the morning? So all these storms out here will kind of travel in this region for tonight. So again, the model's not going to see it, but you're going to see some storms out there. And they'll be kind of, like I said, borderline, kind of weak to marginal as far as anything severe is concerned. All right, so now let's shift on what happens to the morning hours as we kind of put this into motion for you. And you will notice more shower storms bubble up here at 5 and 6 o'clock in the morning with the low-level jet across north central and central Oklahoma, and a big line from southeastern Kansas down south through Tulsa into parts of eastern Oklahoma through the morning hours. That's some good rainfall. Matter of fact, it doesn't really move that boundary at all, so that's a lot of rain that could happen in that area through the morning hours, which could lead, believe it or not, to some flash flooding. Now, so we head into 2 o'clock. You notice that the shower storms still kind of bubble up in that area. Then here's 3 o'clock in central Oklahoma, so there you go. Oklahoma City kind of around town, points south and west. Do have a few showers and storms that'll be bubbling up. So if you have some outdoor activity plans for Friday, keep that in mind here in Oklahoma City. Otherwise, bigger, more stronger storm activity here just east and southeast of town along the I-40 corridor, and some of these through the evening hours. I mean, big storms producing some big hail and big wind. Now, no tornadoes are expected, but it's going to definitely be some strong thunderstorms, some severe weather. All right, that's 7 o'clock. 8 o'clock still continues. There's 9 o'clock, still a little bit more kind of anchored across parts of central Oklahoma. And then as we head into the 11 o'clock hour, still doesn't want to quit completely, but it's starting to get there. We're kind of in a hybrid summertime / spring mode here, where it kind of has a weird look to the how things evolve with storms for Friday. All right, so Saturday, this model produces a few storms out here in western Oklahoma, which again is nowhere near that slight risk that the Weather Service had drawn for north. So you can tell that's usually a sign of trouble, right? When you got a risk over here one day, then the models shift to go, just kidding, we're not going to produce any storms here, we're going to move it over here. And now you got to move your risk from here to here. That's summertime nonsense. The models always have a hard time in that transition, but because our pattern is kind of like that right now, they're a little wonky. But regardless, on Saturday, watch for some scattered severe storms again out here, probably western Oklahoma. We'll see if anything pops up in the north. So that's kind of how that looks. Meanwhile, rainfall amounts, like I said, could see some brief flash flooding, as you can get around 1 inch to 2 if these storms don't move around too much. And you see pockets of 1 inch or ½ inch all the way down into North Texas, and then some scattered areas here in central Oklahoma. So some of you are going to get some good rainfall. Others of you, if you don't get into those storms, you won't get much. But what you will get if you get underneath these big storms is some big wind. Watch what happens here as these storms mature. I'm going to show you once we go from the yellow to the brown. You see this? You see that number? You see what that says? Can you read that? That says 99 miles per hour. You're like, what? Yeah. So that's kind of a summertime hybrid deal. These storms sometimes when they're in this mode, they can grow really, really tall. They can end up producing a lot of damaging wind when they collapse. And these are kind of more of a MCS type cluster development. So it could be being a pretty stout, severe straight line wind event down here across parts of southern and southeastern Oklahoma. So keep that in mind when those storms do come your way. All right, let's wrap this up and give you your forecast. So 80s for here in central Oklahoma to around 90 over the weekend, and then we kind of stay in this pattern. At least we're not hitting 100, but it would be nice to be a lot cooler into early and middle of next week. Overnight lows still on the warm side, 60s to around 70. So no huge pattern changes anytime soon. All right, that was a little long-winded, just a little, but that's your entire forecast. Now, if you want to stay and hang out, I'll show you a couple more maps that just shows you why things are going to form where they are. And then that's it, and I can answer a couple of your questions. So about 5 more minutes if you want to hang tight, and then we'll go on, right? You guys get ready for bed. Okay, so upper levels of the atmosphere. Take a look at the jet stream pattern. Let's start you with currently. So this is our little system out here. All those brighter colors represents the stronger lift going on. So why is the pattern the way it is, first off? Let me show you that. All right, so this is our... let me switch colors. This is our upper level low here. There's a little low here, and a big upper level low here. Okay, so in between that... we have a little bit of ridginess here, so a high and a little ridge here. So what happens is the air gets squeezed between all this stuff. And now remember, air flows counterclockwise around a low, and obviously clockwise around a high, and that kind of goes down here. And then we got this guy coming in a high around this way. So we're almost in kind of a null. So that's why the weather was kind of quiet today for the most part. Didn't have much going on. This little piece of energy is finally hitting this region in western Oklahoma, so that's why those storms are lighting up. But as this moves by, this system here, and it moves in this direction, it's going to get our flow more westerly and allow some of this little ripples of energy to come through. Looks like I just drew a football pattern. A few routes there on the field. All right, so watch what happens with this. Okay, so the low up to the north takes off. The low to our east kind of sits there and spins for a while. Then it starts to move away. Finally, that allows a pattern to change somewhat. So here's Sunday, Monday. So we kind of through Monday start to transition to a northwesterly flow event. So until then, we kind of go from a westerly to northwesterly flow. So let's go back to Friday. So Friday right here. So we see here is that westerly flow from west to east, these little ripples of energy. So that's one of the ingredients we need to help get some storms around here tomorrow. And then if you look at the 700 millibar vertical velocity for the frontal position, because this is all thanks to a weak front, believe it or not, that'll be in the area. You can see it's anchored right here over central Oklahoma. The brighter colors indicate the most lift through noontime, mid-afternoon, late afternoon, and evening, and that kind of just keeps it blowing up all evening long with more of those storms, and it dies down later on. Final ingredient here is we need, obviously, the surface convergence and moisture. So we see these dew points here in the 70s, mid-70s. We haven't had dew points like that in this entire spring, so it's the first time. So there's a lot of low-level juice out there to work with for these storms. And we actually have a little surface low, so a little mesolow showing up in the data. Let's see, let's not do you yet. Let's do this guy here. Little mesolow right here. Now this is Oklahoma City. So you can see how it's just pretty close to the south and east side of town. So it's in the vicinity with all this extra moisture here. So that's why we're gonna bubble some stuff up, but most of the action should be kind of in this quadrant, closer to this surface low, where the models won't have the exact position, they'll have the idea, so that's why they focus more activity in this region. But if you look here, I'm just gonna use this little red color. We have the little convergence line that kind of comes something like this, where you've got a little boundary. So you've got a nice northeast wind here. This is all northeast wind. We have an east wind here, and you have a southeast wind here. So again, the boundary is right into central Oklahoma. That's why the models still produce storms here. They like the favored area more to the south and east for better lift and instability. It doesn't mean it won't happen here. As we saw the data, it should happen here, just maybe not as widespread. That's not necessarily a bad thing, because I don't think anybody's going to want 90-mile-per-hour winds, from these storms that may collapse or produce some damage on the wind side. And then if you were to look at a forecast sounding, I'll just pick the one near what the Mesolog would be showing. Hail size 2.5 inches in diameter, so some pretty stout hail with this. Shear's not quite strong enough for tornadic activity, but it's strong enough for a nice storm. And Cape values up around 4,000 to 5,000 joules. Oh my goodness, or 6,000. So those are big, tall storms, and that's why you sometimes get those big winds. And the ship model for the hail, SHIP, anywhere from 2, and I saw a 3.1 earlier, which usually indicates hail up to 2 inches in diameter or bigger. So that's what we have in the environment to work with. And we look at the flat view of all the Cape, which is the instability in the state, all the colors. That's anchored here over central Oklahoma on that model. On this model, same idea. This model, same idea with a little shift to the east. This one here, central, and then this one here, central. So you can see all the models love central Oklahoma for some really strong instability, for some damaging wind and some big hail. So should the models be a little wrong, and the little Mesolog is a little bit more to the west, which certainly can be the case, then all that stuff we saw is just east of town could be right into town. That would not be good. That'd be widespread property damage in some cases. All right, so let's take a look here at the cap strength. In other words, where the models will break. In other words, there's not a lid to prevent storms from developing. You see the clearing area where you see the white, that's where the cap has completely been eroded. And you can see a lot of that here in central Oklahoma on the short-term model there. You can see pockets where the cap holds. That's where you have the brighter colors, by the way. All right, here's another one. It's got more of the cap breaking out west of I-35. This one says the cap breaks east of I-35. But what's funny is they both like I-35. This one has it back in the central, splitting the difference. This one also splits the difference. So does this one and this one. So there you go. Bottom line is, here in central Oklahoma, cap breaks. We have some storms that bubble up and get a little out of control when it comes to some hail and some wind. So thank goodness no tornadoes, but again, you can have some of these storms can be just as destructive if that wind is on a widespread area, and you can get, I mean, if you're seeing winds gusts to 90 miles an hour, that's a small tornado. Plus it's just straight line wind, so it covers a bigger, larger area. So versus maybe a city block, you've got damage. Now you got damage over maybe 5 miles in maybe 10 miles. It just depends on how big that storm is and that gust front will be. And then, of course, with the hail, with those updrafts, they can be pretty large. So we're looking easily 2+ inches in diameter. All right, so I think that was everything I want to talk about in that aspect. Let me go to a couple of your questions here and scroll through. Christopher Hubbard, always checking in there on YouTube. Good to see you. Usual Crew is on YouTube, by the way. I'm liking it. I see the family. I'm catching the vibe here. You guys, I'm seeing the same names over and over and over, so that's pretty cool. Heck of a time getting a live update to load on my TV. Red Sonja. Yeah, definitely. Remember, everything is in 1080p, so put it on the big screen. Makes it easier to read the maps when I show you that kind of stuff, so you can look at the values. You guys on Twitter, as always, thanks for checking in. Feel free to leave comments anytime. Sometimes I can respond. Sometimes I can. All right, let me do something, because I got to pull in the Facebook comments. Let me see if this is gonna work. All right. Okay. Now, let me see if I can make this happen. Hold on. There we go. Look at that. I made it happen. Everyone to know. Storms overnight. Tulsa. Expected to have wind or hail. Honestly, your big threat is going to be brief flash flooding. So it's not expected to be a big wind or hail event for you. That's a good question, though. Melissa, is our spring officially over? Boy, this season, guys, this is crazy, right? The pattern was like this, though, as advertised, as we've had these late season cold fronts coming in here. And then what they did is that kind of robbed us of how we normally gradually ramp up through winter to spring to summer. And then so that kind of robbed us of those nicer, milder days. We had a lot more colder days. Plus, it pushed all the instability down along the coast into the Gulf of Mexico, which prevented our severe weather seasons. We haven't had that many days of severe storms. So it's a good in that aspect, but it also hurts the rain, which helps to enforce the drought, which, as once the drought sets up, that's representative of a pattern that limits your overall rain in general, and usually is correlated with a nice hot summer, and that's on the table. So, I mean, I'm sure we're still going to have some nice days sneaking in between now and June, and we'll still have a few more storm days. But as far as the way we normally see it, this isn't what we normally would see. Mark wants to know long-term forecast. I have not looked. I actually took a nice few days to do some other things because the weather was quiet, so I took advantage of that. And I'm just now, believe it or not, looking at stuff again. Today was the first day I was checking stuff out. So I knew there was going to be some storms around, so I thought I'd go ahead and take a look. Let's see. So, Chelsea, I don't know if you're late to the party or you just kind of missed out. So everything we're talking about, storms that starts tonight, 2 areas, western Oklahoma, and then overnight around Tulsa area, points south, and then tomorrow afternoon and evening, mid-afternoon, say 3 o'clock onward, for some big storms there. And that's all over central and eastern Oklahoma. All right, let me scroll through here a couple of more comments. By the way, I don't know how far down I can go. Let's see. Oh, little announcement here. So folks obviously probably see Jody in the comments section chatting with a few of you. You know how they were filming Tulsa King for Sylvester Stallone's deal? So we both put in an apply just to see. And would you know she got it? So Jody's going to be on Tulsa King. She's going to be playing the role of a soccer mom. So that's all we know so far, unless they change their mind. But so she's excited. So tomorrow is the day that they get wardrobe checked out, and then they shoot on Tuesday. So she's going to be doing that. Speaking of which, see, here's her comment. She loves the heat. She wants a pool to cool down in, though. But she, listen, when you're from Canada, you got to spend 6 months in the deep freeze. You got to cut her some slack. This 90-degree stuff's not phasing her. Wait till she gets a summer of 110, 118 degree heat. She might change her mind. But for right now, she's loving life. So anyway, I'm proud of her for getting the role over there. Maybe she'll be hanging out with Stallone. Maybe she can score me a backstage pass. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'll live stream it if something happens. If me and Sylvester Stallone are hanging out, trust me, you're going to know about it. Anyway, so we'll see. Let's see what else. I'm just scrolling way back into some messages here. Okay, so I think that was it. All right. So I think that's pretty much all I want to discuss here for tonight. So Sarah, real quick, your question was, is Oklahoma City 3 o'clock tomorrow on? We have scouts headed to rock climbing, and we're expecting weather. So yes, it would be from 3 o'clock onward. I'll show you, since some of you guys are probably late, because I'm getting a lot of the same questions, so I'll just show you that one map which shows you the storms on it and around the times of arrival, and then we're going to cut this so we can get on with our evening duties. Alright, so let's close this down. Let's see if I can turn that off. How do I turn that off? There, maybe that worked. Did that work? I don't think that worked. I'm going to do it this way. Okay, where am I going? Let's do this guy here. Okay, so for tonight, remember, tonight there's some storms out in western Oklahoma. The model doesn't show it, but they're out there. They do show some around 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning popping up here west of Oklahoma City up toward Enid. And then look at the eastern Oklahoma. It's got that little line that just forms north to south along 75, looks like. All the way down here to southern Oklahoma toward, kind of curving back towards Sherman through the morning hours. All right, and that kind of slowly dies out, meanders off to the east. A little outflow boundary probably comes out of that, hugs along the I-40 corridor for the mid-afternoon. As you can see at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we already have these shower storms bubbling up here around the Oklahoma City metro area and points south and east. So we're kind of on the northern and western fringe of this activity. So from 4 and 5 o'clock, most of the stuff is just on the south and east side of town, and then continues to progress into eastern and southeastern Oklahoma with some big hail and big wind. But the models aren't quite done. They still like that front lighting up here in the afternoon from northern to central Oklahoma. So there's a weak cold front on top of it. So that's why it's fair game for these storms. Even though the models are trying to, shove most of the heavier stuff to our south and east, it's close enough to where, again, if you have outdoor plans, either have a backup, alternate, you might have to cancel. Use my weather app, AT's Weather to Go. Just monitor trends. You can watch the radar. I'll put those little arrows on there to show you which way the storms are moving. There's 9 o'clock, still some storms in the area, and there's 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, midnight. Still a little bit of residual activity out there across parts of west central, northern Oklahoma, southern, but all being said, things kind of quiet down and calm down. It's kind of like summertime. Usually once you get toward the late evening, things kind of slowly die out, even though they're still kind of hanging on there toward the midnight hour. And that's it. And then we'll probably get some storms out in western Oklahoma on Saturday. That was the HER model, which is supposedly our best one. We'll look at this NAM model. It was something similar. Got that morning stuff out here just east of Oklahoma City toward Tulsa. It's a little bit more west. But it dies down, and then it starts to produce some more activity here around 4 and 5 o'clock. See how it kind of blows up just south and east of town. So it kind of likes that idea, kind of moving it mainly out of the Oklahoma City metro area. But I don't buy that. That's completely that much. I think we'll still see some activity here. Then there's 9 o'clock, still keeps it in southeast Oklahoma and northeastern Oklahoma as well. Through 11 midnight, see there's some stragglers kind of holding on, but they finally do kind of diminish and die out. So that is a look at how things ought to progress for Friday. So hope that was helpful. And then on Saturday, see there's those storms out, mainly maybe out here in western Oklahoma. There's the Panhandle in the afternoon. The other model we looked at fired them off here northwest of Elk City. So in that vicinity, and then that's about it. Otherwise, I think the weekend in general right now looks pretty good. Just, warm or hot, however you want to look at it. All right, that is it for me, guys. It is 10:10. It is time to get out of here. But thank you for stopping by. Hope everything was good. And again, thanks for your support for AT's Weather. And we'll holler at you again here soon. Be careful tomorrow. Watch out for those storms. Take care. Sleep well.